Look at us now, tip to tip.
Ooh, Jesus.
Oh.
Shout out to Morning Kombat.
Do you want a margarita?
Yes!
My God!
It's us doing what we love. It's time to bang. Oh, yeah. French rapey voice unites here. It's MK. It's back in your face hole. It's Friday, July 11th, 2025. I know you ain't got shit to do. I'm Brian Campbell from suburban Connecticut, your co-host of this award-winning podcast that refuses to die a slow or long death, right? We're still thriving. We're still here. We're still vibing. That's my co-host from DC. He's currently getting pegged by Comcast, which is why his screen looks so different. But by the power of an internet hotspot, this show is being held together by MacGyver bubblegum and some loose change. Luke, how are you over there?
Pissed off, fucking Comcast. These MFers, man. My service dies this morning, and then I call them up and be like, "Hey guys, I need the internet for a living. I work from home." And they're like, "Yeah, we'll get there Sunday." And I'm like, "No, bitch. By that point, Verizon's gonna be here. Get your fucking ass over here now." So they're gonna get over here, I guess, by the end of today. But Jesus, man, faulty ass bullshit equipment. Fuck Comcast.
Wow. Right off the start, today's episode of Morning Kombat, oh, by the way, presented by DraftKings. And you know about DraftKings, the crown is yours. Shout out to everybody watching on the DraftKings network on YouTube, where we encourage you to like and subscribe. And I know you audio only guys out there mowing the lawn or doing a grocery run, we in your ear hole too. So check out our socials right there. Follow us. We have and also check out our extended YouTube channels, including Luke Thomas Gets Political, which is on fire at the moment right there. But we won't bring in politics today unless you want to talk about
I hope not.
On a White House lawn. We will be getting into a fantastic episode, setting the stage for a loaded boxing weekend in the NYC, including 2 girls and 1 championship cup of some kind in this trilogy this evening. Also, we got some UFC Nashville. We'll react to an explosive BKFC press conference where it was tequila white lightning for everyone, it seemed. And also check in on Ben Askren's incredible journey fighting to survive and keeping up the good fight. So all that and then some, tall, pale, and handsome. Will hit your dead wrongs. Will hit your fan subs. And at 12 Eastern time, get ready. The towering inferno, Sebastian Fundora, will stop by today on MK, just 1 week out from his rematch with Tim Tszyu on the Manny Pacquiao Returns PBC on Prime pay-per-view card. I am fired up to be here. Luke, will you recover emotionally enough to give the people what they want?
I will do my level best with this bullshit ass internet off of my telephone that I'm using. How does it look? Do I sound okay? I don't even know how I sound.
Yeah. You know, you sound fine. It does look very 2006 technology at the moment, like maybe a early episode of Luke Thomas's Piss. So it kind of works out perfectly, you know?
Fucking Comcast. I hate these cable companies so goddamn much. But you know what? Shouts to Verizon making it work. Here we are.
Yeah. We don't have it in our show, Luke Thomas, but do you have anything to say about John Jones's DMs?
Dude, is he not the most unbelievable loser ever of all time? I mean,
he's made much more money than you have in his life.
Here's which is so funny because my response to that would be like, you know, I'll never have to explain to my daughter, you know, all the crimes that I've committed, alleged or otherwise, to my significant other, potentially even in front of them. And he will, and there's no amount of money he has that would ever make me want to trade places with him. So
yeah, but Luke, he just found that fighting spirit again once
didn't he?
Once Donald, as he calls him, announced plans to put that octagon on the front lawn there on Pennsylvania.
I don't want to talk about this fucking guy.
Okay.
Talk about this fucking
I
guy.
also don't want to talk about the unfortunate arrest this morning as Gervonta Tank Davis allegedly was stopped in South Florida, accused of striking an ex-girlfriend multiple times. This is obviously a repeated pattern. No word yet whether that will affect the proposed rematch this summer. with Lamont Roach, but yeah, another step backwards, unfortunately, in the outside the ring life of one Gervonta Davis right there. So those are the topics we won't be hitting in depth, but we will be hitting a few more. Luke, any weekend plans maybe to like turn the internet off and find happiness?
I always try to do that. Yeah, we got some stuff. Taking Tukes to some events around town. Let's see. There was something going on you have kids party tomorrow. Of course, what else would there be? And then I'm on vacation the week after that.
Is it a bounce house? Did you hire a clown? What's going on here?
No, it's not our party. It's one of her friends from school or summer camp or whatever. So yeah, should be fun.
Is that little bitch who doesn't share, or is that that's not appropriate for me to talk like that?
I mean, I don't typically refer to 6-year-old girls in that way, but that's a choice you can make.
Okay, here we go. Well, we've set the stage for a fantastic episode. Before we get into our first topic, I would like to introduce the third member of our team. He's a producer, director, bong enthusiast, 90s rock aficionado, and yes, he got a one-way ticket to the United States by way of a horned-up Australian man's testicles. It is Luke Nocito of the Main Card Minute. Hey, Luke, how are you, brother?
I'm doing good. I'm doing a lot better than other Luke today. Comcast sticking strong here on Long Island. We don't use Comcast. That's probably why. But
who's your Time Warner?
I got Verizon, Fios, baby.
Verizon.
Okay. I thought you got that James Dolan shit. You don't need that, right?
Nah, my parents got the James Dolan shit. They haven't gotten with the times. Verizon's got the gig internet. You got to get with the good shit. But Taylor Serrano 3 tonight, doing a watch along for it.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. Tune into that.
If I have internet, I might as well. But who knows? You know what I'm saying?
Who knows?
Yeah, you probably won't. Let's just.
One final plug. You may have recognized this fantastic piece of business on my chesticles right here. This MK Punch-Out shirt. Go to morningcombat.shop right now. This is one of our new releases for the month of July. Get it while it lasts. I believe, is that an L&W production? Shout out to that great man, right? No?
I read books. Suck My Balls is literally on the t-shirt. It fucking makes me laugh.
It's great. It's great. What is it, like 420, 911? It's just it plays all the hits. Check it out. All right, let's get into it. It's topic number 1, and it goes down this evening. Look, it's a really, really big deal. Katie Taylor versus Amanda Serrano, part 3. And of course, you can watch this fantastic trilogy tonight, Friday, July 11th, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, live on Netflix. So, Luke, let's break it down. The first fight between them in 2022 sold out Madison Square Garden. It was the first time two women made 7-figure paydays in the same fight, and it drew 1.5 million viewers live on DAZN to become the most watched fight in women's boxing history. Last fall, they did a rematch in Arlington's AT&T Stadium, and it only became the most watched women's sporting event in U.S. history while saving an otherwise absurd Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson card live on Netflix. We are going for a third one tonight in which these two amazing women will split a $18 million purse between them, continuing to set records, headlining an all-female card live on Netflix. In your opinion, Luke, as we get ever so closer to making our predictions for tonight, what has made this rivalry so special, so historic? And is it fair to say that maybe for the third straight time, we are entering the biggest and most important fight in women's boxing history?
I don't know enough about women's boxing history to know where this places there. I would be speaking out of turn if I did. Perhaps you could speak more authoritatively to that than I could. But what's kind of interesting about this fight, BC, is, and we'll get to it here today on the rundown. There was craziness at the BKFC presser yesterday. There was even some pretty ridiculous craziness at the Edgar Berlanga and Sheeraz, Hamzah Sheeraz presser yesterday as
they were throwing panties. He was throwing panties at Oscar.
Shoes, wigs, the whole 9 yards, which kind of tells you about ticket sales. But consider what you saw this week between Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano. None of that. A little bit of trash talk back and forth. Very little. Very, very little. And I'm not here to say that that's one of these things where like, I'm always going to prefer that. In fact, in most cases, I would not. In most cases, I would actually prefer it to be a little bit. But this is just one of those fights where if they were doing it, you could tell it wouldn't be who they are. And it has the distinct benefit of some fights just don't actually need it, or at a bare minimum, not much is added to it as a consequence. And I think it's this one. This fight, to me, you've seen them fight for 20 rounds, and it was nothing but a tornado for 18 of them, if not 19 of them. This is a fight where it has what you need. Again, not so much on the trash talk side or animus side, but you've got two rock-ribbed fight communities with the Irish and the Puerto Ricans. You've got an iconic stage/venue, Madison Square Garden, New York City. You've got you've literally got the and by the way, I know that this is presented by Netflix. I'm only telling you the truth. The number one streamer, or streaming service, I should say, in the world. And it's got, everybody knows what the score is. It's going to be two cats in a bag from bell to bell, over and over and over and over again. And the first two fights, BC, yes, they definitely went Katie Taylor's way. She is technically 2-0, but there's not a person on earth who is counting out Amanda Serrano. Katie Taylor, most especially. She knows that she has her hands full tonight. It's pure excitement. It's pure grit. It's pure determination. And it's just, BC, we started off the show talking about Gervonta Davis now being arrested again. You can't believe it, right? And then John Jones DMing people to remind them, John Jones is the that meme where the guy is crying but then has the mask on that's smiling, because the guy is obviously being eaten alive by his demons inside. And the fight game feels gross most days. It feels gross. It feels, there's hey, this guy is praising Hitler and this guy just got arrested for rape. It's just insane how the directions that it goes. This fight has absolutely none of that. None of that. You can just focus on the fight itself, and given what we've seen, I don't know what I would love to hear it. I don't know what the argument would even be that you would think a fight like this would suck. Like, this is just joy in a box. Here's your present. Welcome to Christmas Day.
Let's go. I think you nailed it right there. Not to mention the first two fights. And I say this is the third straight time in this rivalry that we're entering. Well, yes, I consider to be the biggest, most important fight in women's boxing history, not just from the record-setting money, the fact that it's a main event of an all-female, card, the fact that it's on Netflix, all of that. How about the fact that the first two fights were both legitimate fight of the year contenders, and both exceeded expectations when in some ways they had no right to. I mean, that was a sold out Madison Square Garden the first time, and old timers that were there of deep in the boxing game were like, I'm not sure I've been in a more exciting atmosphere before, male or female. They escalated that in the rematch, which only added to the disputed scorecards, the controversy, all that. But yet, even though Katie Taylor, the 39-year-old Irish legend and currently the undisputed 140-pound champion, with those belts being on the line in this one, their first fight at 135, the last two fights at 140, she will be the betting underdog. As we stand right now, according to DraftKings, Katie Taylor is plus 150 despite being 2-0 in this series, and Amanda Serrano minus 185 at 36 years old, your betting favorite. Long Island Luke, can we go to the face-off from the final presser this week? And it has been very cordial. There's been very little sort of anything you could call trash talk, a couple one-liners regarding the fights back and forth, but you see the professionalism, you see the pride. Luke, let's be honest. These are two of the 4 or 5 best female boxers in the history of the sport. Along with Clarissa Shields, they're the face of this Renaissance era where we have maybe not extreme depth across all divisions. It's going to take more time to build that, but we have marketable superstars with of pound for pound ability, nearly all the way through the top 10 pound for pound, which is not easy to do in women's boxing historically. This is the era. This is the rivalry. These are the two stars. And good Lord, have they been so damn close. I want to start off with a piece of sound from that final press conference that does show the two of them going back and forth about the controversies of the first two fights, in which Katie Taylor won their first meeting by split decision. She would win their second one by unanimous decision, although by 1 point on all three scorecards. And remember, she did get docked a point for one of those headbutts, yet still came victorious. Let's hear from the ladies themselves about who should have won the first two.
And obviously she has her opinion, her team has their opinion, I have my opinion, my teams, the fans, the people who saw have their own opinion. So it's good.
Yeah, I mean, I have my own opinion about the stuff that Amanda has been saying on our team, but the fact is I am 2-0 against her, and opinions are opinions, but facts are facts, and you can't get away from those facts. Yeah, I guess I'm just sick of the complaining and whining from your team. The only thing that matters is that I am 2-0 against her. I'm going to this fight unbeaten against Amanda Serrano, and I plan to stay unbeaten against her. I plan to stay 3-0 to come this Friday night.
Now, for the record, Taylor did say she would be open to a fourth fight should Serrano win tonight, but you heard that rare sort of trash talk moment of Taylor saying, I'm sick of her team whining about it. Now, Luke, full disclosure, I scored both fights for Serrano, very close. She hurt Taylor in both fights. She aggressively outlanded her when we talk about CompuBox that I'll get to in a second in both fights, but I want to ask you straight up, how would you explain the judge's preference for giving Taylor the consistent benefit of the doubt in so many close rounds in this rivalry?
So I went back and I watched both fights. I will say if there's one benefit, BC, to women's boxing being 10 2-minute rounds, it's not that hard to go back and watch all the action. You know what I mean?
Sure.
It's a fairly straightforward affair. I think, because I'm like you, I think I scored. Now, again, it's not any kind of mystery or how could they have happened that Katie Taylor won. Like, these fights are close. The rounds are close. Anybody winning is frankly quite understandable. But I'm like you. I scored, I think, both of them for Serrano as well. I come away with a couple of conclusions. One, I think Katie Taylor is the more dominant pure puncher and has a more demonstrable effect on Serrano. Now, that's not always true. Obviously, Serrano puts together some good combinations, and in the first fight in that middle portion, she was really dealing. But I think in general, she's a little bit more, she scores more demonstrative offense, even if she gets outlanded. That's one of the first things I would point out. Two, I think this is why I think Katie Taylor likes these shorter rounds, because remember, Serrano wanted this fight to be 12 rounds, 3 minutes. And it was Katie Taylor's team who did not want that. And it makes sense because what ends up happening is that Serrano throws a ton of volume and a lot of body shots. And I like her body shots, but I don't know how the judges look at that. But what I think I can say with some pretty good confidence, BC, is, and we're speaking in generalities here, right? In general, to me, what ends up happening a little bit in these fights is that Serrano throws high volume anyway, but she has a very narrow window in which to do it. And to me, I'm not saying it's junk volume, but she doesn't necessarily patiently set things up. And as a consequence, Katie Taylor, who I think is pound for pound, maybe a little bit more of a dominant puncher, again, or scores more demonstrative shots, she's able to counter Serrano pretty effectively, at least in certain parts of each fight. Like in each fight, like early or late in the first one, or some of the third, I would say, of the second fight, you can just tell that some of these hooks she throws up top when Serrano wants to go to the body, and then she gets out and she knocks her off balance a lot. It's because Serrano doesn't have time to feint her way in. She kind of just has to go. And that plays a little bit to Katie Taylor's game in terms of scoring these counter shots that the judges really remember, that allows her to get out and then reset the whole program. Now, obviously, BC, as you indicate, Serrano puts on an enormous amount of volume, and then there are rounds where she's busting up Katie Taylor too. I want to be very, very clear about that. There's rounds where you can see Katie Taylor looking at stars. Like she's
the bigger puncher. Serrano's the bigger puncher. I know what you're saying on demonstrative on the view, but Serrano's the bigger puncher for being the smaller fighter. No question.
Yeah. Yes, but do you understand my point that
Yes.
some of the most memorable off-balancing shots tend to come from Katie Taylor. I guess maybe that's what I'm trying to say, whether or not who's the more dominant puncher. But I really think, BC, I really think these short rounds, Katie Taylor and her team, they know Serrano just has to go. But that doesn't let her set it up methodically, and that enables her to be countered pretty consistently.
That's a great point, because I think the thing even lost on me sometimes looking back on here is exactly what you said. This 2-minute rounds, which favor Taylor's style. It's why for all 3 fights, she leaned on her A-side leverage to make sure these were 10 rounds, 2 minutes apiece, and not the 12-3 men's format. Even though Eddie Hearn told me it would be hard to get all 4 sanctioning bodies to agree to do that, but still, the thing that I was surprised in going back and watching the tape, and you mentioned it, Serrano doesn't move her head enough or look to set up these punches. It is sort of like, oh shit, we're in this battle. We got 2 minutes. I got somebody across me who's at least my equal. I'm just going to let it go. I think there is a little bit more nuance available to her that might lower the output, but might give her an opportunity. But I want to pause that when we talk about the strategy in a second. First, I want to show you the punch stats from the first 2 fights, because they are pretty damning when you blow it up. This is according to CopyBox from their first fight. Taylor was outlanded by Serrano 173 to 147 overall, although you do see there that that Taylor connected on 48%, or is that a 46% of her power shots compared to 36 for Serrano, who threw, by the way, nearly double the output. Taylor threw 375 in the first fight. Serrano threw, is that a, I can't look.
624. Yeah.
I need glasses. I'm going to need glasses even more for the second one. Let's go to the rematch where the stats were even more remarkable in favor. Luke, can you read those at all?
Motherfucker, I'm blind as shit too.
All right, the bottom
Luke,
left
can you
corner.
help us out here?
Yeah, where are they? All the way up.
I need the bottom left corner, the total punches.
All right,
Serrano
total punches
nearly
is Taylor,
doubled her.
Taylor 217, Serrano 324.
Out of how
She
many?
landed-
Out of how many?
Fuck, that's hard to read. It looks like Serrano threw 734 and Katie threw 529.
Dude,
So look, she
plus,
outlanded-
plus 700 punches is fucking insane.
Landed nearly 100 more, and on top of that, Serrano landed 56% of her power shots, which is insane. She landed the most punches scored by a CompuBox women's fight in boxing history, yet is 0-2. You make good points that maybe Taylor is a little more judicious, even though I always call her a spammer. It really has been Serrano who has been more of the spammer, and maybe you're right. Maybe it's been the cleaner punching of Taylor that the judges have preferred, even though I do think the 2-minute round format has robbed Serrano of the potential of getting knockdowns or knockouts in this matchup, because she did visibly hurt her in both fights. And yes, there were the controversies of the headbutts, which did take a point away in the rematch from Taylor, but nothing more from the referee. You mentioned the round setting. They talked about it at the press conference this week. Let's listen in.
We're on the cusp of one of the greatest trilogies in the history of sports. The Independent, a UK publication, put out an article today, and it said the importance of this rivalry is the same as Messi versus Ronaldo. The final chapter.
Wrong clip there. If we can go to the back and forth between them over the amount of rounds in this matchup.
She's not in a position to dictate the terms of the fight.
To do 3 minutes and 12 rounds like the males, why you didn't accept that challenge?
Well, because I won the second fight. Like I said in the last press conference, she's not in a position to dictate the terms of the fight. I'm the champion, she's not.
It is what it is.
Luke, I'll get to what Nikisa said in a second there, but I want to ask you this regarding the potential for Serrano, who is 0-2 in this matchup, in this rivalry, even if she and I believe she should have won. The whole idea of how much should she change her strategy. During that same press conference, she said, I'm really not going to change much. I thought I won the first 2 fights, but even though it's a new set of judges here, you've got to do something different. If you were her coach, what would be that something different after watching the first 2 fights over again?
For Amanda Serrano?
Yes. How does she sway the judges in her favor?
So we know that the punching volume, not an issue. We know that combination work works well. So I don't think it makes a lot of sense for Amanda Serrano to just change up what she does completely, throw the baby out with the bathwater. I mean, BC, once again, you can make a very easy argument that she won the first two. I mean, not literally, but that perhaps that she should have. So we're talking about minor adjustments. And what's one thing I say on this show almost every week? Minor adjustments at this level of the game yield significant results. You don't need to upend everything. You got to tweak a few things. BC, I think she has to crowd her. Katie Taylor's ring craft, to me, is one of the more underrated features of this rivalry. Because what we tend to focus on are the exchanges. And for good reason. They're insane. They're plentiful. Like, they go on for a long time. They have swings in momentum. It's part of the fun of the story, right? Because that's a lot of what this rivalry is about. Fun. It's enjoyable to watch two professionals who have this kind of professional rivalry. But the ring craft of Katie Taylor is a big difference maker. She uses any number of things, pins, turns, bumps, to retake center, to stay moving laterally, to to pull, for example, Amanda Serrano into punches. And that ends up scoring a lot of offense and then allows Katie Taylor to reset. To me, when Serrano is able to force more combination work in a linear fashion and to get Taylor to plant, sometimes Taylor wins those. A lot of times Serrano wins those. A lot of times her hand speed and combination work tend to have this really very quick but obvious accumulative effect. You need to take away her movement. In an MMA, it would be different, right? You just kick out her legs. That's not what this is. So you have to put the kinds of punches together that stop movement, and you have to put the kind of, I know she's Puerto Rican, BC, a little Mexican forehead to forehead pressure, a little bit more Isak Cruz with more ring craft, obviously. I think that's what's going to happen. People don't talk about Katie Taylor's movement, BC, and it's essential to understanding her success.
It's a very, very good point. I was wondering maybe if it was the opposite, if it was you got to make Katie Taylor become the chaser, become the spammer, and Serrano become the counter puncher, considering that power advantage, and that maybe if she focused less on volume and more on impact shots. But I think you also run the risk, if that happens, that we have another close fight and now suddenly the judges favor Taylor for activity in ways they didn't favor Serrano the first two. Either way, we do expect this to be potentially hellacious, just as good as the first two. Do you think the age, with Katie Taylor now being 39, having been in a decent amount of wars, the two crazy fights with Delphine Persoon, the loss to Chantel Cameron, the first two fights here with Serrano, is it fair to say 3 years younger that Serrano's the fresher fighter, that maybe that will be an issue? Do you believe that's maybe why she's the betting favorite despite being 0-2?
Yes, I do believe her being 39 will be an issue. You know what's funny, BC? Again, I know we're speaking predominantly to what is largely an MMA audience, not exclusively, obviously. I think everyone's pretty hyped for this fight, but we're not used to seeing guys fight 4-5 times in MMA. It's happened, but it's quite rare. BC, if Serrano ends up doing what she could have done in the first two fights, you're gonna get another one here. Like, there's simply no doubt in my mind. But to answer the question,
of the money, by the way, they both said because the money's too good. Of course, we would do it again.
I mean, who else are they going to fight to get this kind of money from, right? I mean, each one is the golden ticket. But what I was going to say was, I do think that. I mean, when I went back and I watched these first two fights, again, to the point that you raise, Serrano gets off-balanced and demonstrably moved in ways that I think was very, very memorable for the judges. But BC, correct me if I'm wrong, and if you disagree, by all means say so. But to me, if I was asked who got rocked worst in individual moments, worse, I should say, between the two in the two fights, it's going to be Katie Taylor. And in fact, that's kind of what's remarkable about her, because she rescued herself a couple times and then put it back on Serrano. But you just wonder if Serrano's made enough adjustments and this things go a little bit differently this time, could Katie Taylor get really messed up here? I don't think that's a crazy thing to consider.
It's just crazy that Serrano, before signing with Jake in 2021, was already a first ballot Hall of Famer, 9-division champion, the only male or female in boxing history, yet was often defending her titles off TV, usually around purses of 15 and 20,000. Now she's making $9 million here. She made $7 million in the rematch. made at least 7 figures in the first one. Remarkable turn for both, which certainly tells you they both need each other. One more time, Long Island, could you play Nikisa's clip trying to really put into perspective what this rivalry means to women's boxing?
We're on the cusp of one of the greatest trilogies in the history of sports. The Independent, a UK publication, put out an article today, and it said the importance of this rivalry is the same as Messi versus Ronaldo. The final chapter of Katie Taylor versus Amanda Serrano.
Luke, you're a footy type of guy. Does that make any sense to you? But at the same time, even if it doesn't, we can't overlook what this fight, what this rivalry can do moving forward on the impact of women's boxing.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that's a very helpful analogy. Messi and Ronaldo compete in a sport that has maybe the highest participatory rate of any sport worldwide, and yet ended up being these figures that changed how we understand the sport and what was possible. And while lifting the rivalry, playing for rival clubs for, nearly a decade, basically. Yeah, that was so infinitely bigger and harder to do. I'm not trying to demean the athletes, but I think that's just a little bit over the line. But this is the point I would like to make. It doesn't need to be Messi and Ronaldo. It doesn't need to be any of those things. It just this is such a high watermark that it can just live on its own. And in fact, what I think is more interesting is how, to me, future women's rivalries in combat sports, not just boxing, such that they are trilogies or, again, there's rivalries, they will be compared to this. Every time you hear a fighter say, for example, a fighter comes out of Georgia, someone's going to ask them, do you want to be the next Ilia Topuria? Do you want to be the next Merab Dvalishvili? And then what they're inevitably going to say is, no, I want to be the first, they'll say their own name. That's the feeling I get with this one. I mean, obviously there's been great women's boxers before and some rivalries, but for our generation, this is the gold standard. This is it. This is what future generations of fight fans are going to remember as the most noteworthy and important women's rivalry. So my response to Nikisa would be, I understand what he's trying to say, but let this speak for itself on its own, independent of comparisons across gender and sport and continents. Let it live on its own, Well,
I think it's important though, because Layla Ali and Ann Wolfe were contemporaries. They're both Hall of Famers. They never fought each other. I mean, Wolfe blames Layla Ali, so do her critics. Ultimately, now you got these two in this era, which again also includes Clarissa Shields, Michaela Mayer, so many other great female fighters, and a lot of them will be on this card. By the way, I give Jake Paul and MVP Promotions a lot of credit for that. But you're going to get these two at least 3 times, maybe even a fourth. Who knows? Long Island Luke, we mentioned those betting odds from DraftKings, minus 185 for Serrano, plus 150 for Taylor. I know you're neither an expert on boxing or women, but as boyfriend of the year
or girlfriend,
boyfriend of the year, how do you look at this from a betting standpoint? You're getting plus money on one of the greatest fighters ever, who's 2-0 in this rivalry.
I know.
Nuts.
When you word it like that, I feel like it's definitely worth throwing a little something on Katie Taylor. I already took Amanda by decision in a parlay. I took it with the over 8.5 in the opening bout on the main card, which is Scottney versus Mercado, I believe. Yeah, those are their names. So the over 8.5 in that with Serrano by decision. So I'm riding with Serrano, but I think it's anyone's fight. Definitely worth throwing a little. Yeah.
It really is. And speaking of anyone's fight, by the way, that undercard, Alicia Baumgartner's back, Savannah Marshall against Shadeja Green to unify titles, Chantel Cameron, Trineka Johnson, up and down.
Can I say something about Shadeja Green? This is where it's like Jake Paul, the boxer, not my favorite. Not my favorite. We don't hide that on this show. Jake Paul, the promoter, man. Shadeja Green has been on Jake Paul's undercards for quite some time, and we interviewed her when we were working at Showtime. And I remember when we spoke to her, she was full of verve. She had some real attitude in a good way. And here she is, still climbing. Jake Paul is not just he promotes Amanda Serrano. There's a bunch of women he has given multiple opportunities to. And it's a very simple question. Again, Salida Promotions, I think, with Clarissa Shields has done obviously an enormous amount. There's been some other ones too. Sky Nicholson,
Eddie
over
Hearn, Eddie Hearn's the co-promoter here. Give him credit.
Yeah, no, fair enough. I mean, it's not just the Jake Paul show, but I'm just saying for Jake Paul, who all this controversy around and blah blah blah. Dude, he promotes the shit out of women's boxing, and there's just no two ways about it. You have to give him credit.
All right, let's give credit to who we think will be the winner. Luke, Taylor Serrano 3 this evening, live on Netflix, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. Who wins, and does this end the best rivalry in women's boxing history?
Man, I've been wrong about this every step of the way, and I have really gone back and forth on this one, but I think I'm finally gonna say that I'm confident Serrano will win. I guess I'm not confident. I'm gonna say Serrano. I just feel like it's been within her grasp, and I think that they're finally going to catch Katie Taylor a little bit on the downswing, and that's going to make a difference. But of course, BC, as you well know, as you indicated right before you asked me, it truly, truly is anyone's fight.
It really is. I'm going Serrano by decision as well. I think the difference this time will be that she'll get that knockdown. She will get through on Taylor. I don't think she'll finish her because Katie fights so well hurt and is so able to recuperate quickly in crazy situations. And again, the 2-minute rounds make it very difficult. But I do think a knockdown could be the difference here. I think Serrano will make those adjustments and be a little bit fresher. And maybe we see a fourth one, but I'm not focused on that. I'm focused on this one. And it does go down this evening. One final time to get you fired up, of course. You can watch Katie Taylor versus Amanda Serrano 3 tonight, Friday, July 11th, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 Pacific, live on Netflix. Luke, real quick to close this topic, I want to show you that picture. We didn't think it was coming, of Jake Paul and Turki Al-Sheikh, along with the quote tweet from Jake, which says, "My and MVP's goal has always been to disrupt and grow boxing, and Turki has done that in massive ways. Collaborating only helps ensure boxing," here's the key part, "for men and women continues to grow and regain its place as the biggest sport in the world." So not only is this surprising to see what we thought were major rivals in this boxing space come together, I would knee-jerk go, okay, maybe Turki's going to pay for KSI, who he already has under a Ring Magazine brand ambassador deal. Maybe he's going to make KSI versus Jake. But Jake mentioned men and women there. What do you make of this moving forward?
I guess everyone bends the knee to Turki eventually. Let's see what they come up with. I mean, on the one hand, you would like to see promoters not clash exactly, but give different competing visions of what boxing can be and look like. That's actually, to me, one of the benefits of the multi-promoter model that boxing enjoys, is that you don't just get one version sensibility, you get a lot. And I think I wouldn't want to lose that. At the same time, if they're willing to join forces, BC, especially across gender lines, to make boxing's biggest fights possible, it's hard for me to know what the obvious downside of that would be. I mean, there could be some, and in fact there probably will be, but just in terms of Saudi dominance in the sport. But just to talk about, like, combining rosters, combining forces, one of the things that we've been critical of in boxing is guys don't cross, or ladies either, cross the street to work with other promoters. If we can get a more robust sharing system across promoters, once again, like, isn't that a little bit the dream? I mean, maybe that's an exaggeration, but like, you just would prefer promoters work together to make the biggest fights. And if that's what we're going to get, I think most fans would be quite receptive. I'm shocked.
I mean, there was a time earlier this year where there's a lot of rumors that Jake and Nikisa were looking to secure upwards of $100 million in investment money that I believe they were unable to, maybe to be the rival for the eventual inevitable Turkey Zuffa boxing takeover. I don't think this means Dana and Jake are going to be partners, but maybe this means Amanda Serrano fights on a Ring Magazine card or what have you. We got to wait and see. Let's go to topic number 2, which is this Ring Magazine series, which I got to say, when you look at everything that Turkey's brought to boxing over the past couple of years, the good, the bad, obviously the biggest things were getting these huge fights like Beterbiev and Bivol, getting Usyk Fury, all that. this Ring Magazine series has become, I think, the best thing that Turkey's a part of, even with that Times Square card not living up to expectations. Saturday night, also in New York City, but nearby in Queens at Louis Armstrong Stadium, one of the playing surfaces for the annual U.S. Open tennis tournament. We are going to get Ring 3, a 4-fight card of decent note here of fights we need to see. But let's start off and focus first on that main event, Edgar Berlanga versus Hamzah Sheeraz, excuse me. And Luke, considering both fighters are really being harshly judged by critics due to their most recent elite performances, and that's Berlanga in the one-sided pay-per-view loss to Canelo, and Sheeraz in that disputed title draw with Carlos Adames for the middleweight title, and the fight where Turkey ran up and gave him the scores in the corner. Which fighter do you believe has more to prove in this super middleweight showdown that will air on DAZN pay-per-view Saturday night between two big-time sluggers?
Okay, this is a very simple question to answer. Who would receive more blowback from the public in the event of a loss? And the answer is Edgar Berlanga, period. There's no question in my mind. This is a guy who lost basically a shutout to Canelo and then did a victory lap tour afterwards. He started out with a ton of hype, right? They called him the monster. He was knocking out everybody, and then he started fighting guys who, weren't pre-diabetic gas station attendants, and that fell off pretty quickly. And there's been a lot of controversy about him. And then even this week, BC, I'm sure we'll look at it, feuding with not his opponent, but with his opponent's promoter, essentially, I guess, in Sheeraz.
Not even. Sheeraz
yeah,
is
not
with
even.
Turkey.
You're right. What am I saying? Yeah, not even. But they were on the opposite ends of the stage. But yes, I mean, you get the idea.
Oscar's there for William Zepeda. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. But you get the idea. Like, he's not even focused on his opponent as some kind of like noteworthy rival. It's about he's fighting Sheeraz. Edgar Berlanga is. That is true. He's also fighting, I think, public criticism, doubt, Oscar, critics. He's got a lot to fight here for 12 rounds in Queens on Saturday night that actually has nothing to do with the opponent. And the opponent, to me, offers some real stylistic challenges to him. So it's got to be him. If this backfires here, you're going to watch people clown the shit out of this guy.
I mean, that's probably the better answer given how much shit Berlanga talks. He says, I went toe to toe with Canelo. Ask anybody in New York. And it's like, no, you didn't. You got up from the knockdown. You went the distance, but yeah. But on the flip side, Luke, look, Sheeraz has maybe among all other fighters who we consider Turkey's favorites, dude, he's getting poised to be pushed to the moon. Turkey has not hesitated from not only tweeting publicly that he hopes Sheeraz does not get knocked out because he has big plans ahead for him, but those big plans have already been said. Canelo in May. It'll be down to Chris Eubank Jr. or Sheeraz if they both win their next fights. And obviously it might be dependent upon whether Crawford beats Canelo later this year. But Sheeraz did not look ready for primetime against Adames. Ring IQ, adaptability. It just wasn't there against a pure boxer, an elite champion there at 160 in Adames. Now he's moving up in weight, new trainer in Andy Lee, a lot of pressure on him. And look, the thing about Berlanga is everybody hates him. But Luke, I don't think he's as bad as his critics say. I really don't.
He is.
I don't think he's the same guy who knocked out 16 guys in a row in the first round. He's not that menacing, but he's confident. He can punch. He's got a chin.
He can punch a little.
If you underestimate this guy, he is poised. I think that might matter in this matchup.
Yeah, I think that here's what I'm going to say. Berlanga is the kind of boxer where you can have a skill advantage over him, BC, but if you're not locked in mentally in terms of what the task is, and then even under fire a little bit, learn how to manage it over the course of 12 rounds, it could be a problem for you. But if you just look at the guys who have had some success against him, or, in the case of Canelo, just a rout of him, he's not a smart boxer. He's not. He's a confident boxer, but he's not a smart one. He can be outsmarted, but he makes up for it with, verve, gusto, a little bit of punching power, attitude. He can make guys who aren't confident in their abilities wilt a little bit. I think that's the issue. But technically, can he be beaten? I think he could be beaten by a lot of guys in this division. The question is, mentally and strategically and how those two intersect. What is Sheeraz cooking up and what can he ultimately deliver? But, Berlanga is there to be beaten. He's not clever.
Interesting stuff right here. Let's go first, if you can skip down Long Island Luke, to the face-off between them that got very intense yesterday.
Price is king. Price is king. Price is king. Price is king. I got the crack, nigga. I got the crack, nigga. I got the tail. You got here. You gonna see. You gonna see. You gonna see. You gonna see. Put another 100. 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 Another 100. Put another 100, nigga.
Luke, I want to get Long Island.
A lot of N-words there.
Yeah. Long Island Luke, did you switch up the odds? Because as I wrote this rundown yesterday, Berlanga had become the betting favorite again after this being a pick'em for most of the week. Are you telling me now that Sheeraz is the favorite according to DraftKings?
Yeah, and it's growing. So early this morning, I updated the rundown. Berlanga was plus 110. I just looked 5 minutes ago. He's plus 125 now. So money's coming in on Sheeraz.
So Sheeraz now minus 155. He's come back in front as the favorite. This is going to be an interesting fight. We do have to get through a little bit of ridiculousness first. And one of that is Berlanga's war with Oscar De La Hoya. The only thing we can do is play the video.
Look at me. Look at me. Is that a Louis? Yeah, for you. Yeah. Is that real? Yeah. Yeah, for you. Look, remember this shit? Remember that shit? Wait. Oh, yeah. Hey. I knew actually. Check. Remember this shit? First of all, sit down. You have no world titles. What? You have no world titles. Oh, yeah, let me put them on now. Let me put them on now, baby. I got some right here for you. Come here, I got some right here for you. Hey, listen to me. Listen to this. This guy's not even Puerto Rican. I've been asking for your Puerto Rican passport. Where is it at? Where's your Puerto Rican passport? Where's your Puerto Rican passport? I'm more Puerto Rican than you. Stop robbing fucking fighters, Puerto Rican than you. Stop robbing fighters, man. Hey, your jewelry is as fake as your wins. That jewelry's probably fake as hell. Bitch. Hey, shit. You my stripper. You my stripper. Hey, you my stripper. Check his jewelry. See if it's real. You my stripper. Is that real?
Yeah, I was going to say that thing just kept going. They needed to be separated in the end.
I would not want Oscar to be my stripper. I've been to strip clubs. I would not want Oscar to be my stripper. I would want a woman to be my stripper. You know what I'm saying?
Was that real cash that was being thrown by him, or was that fake?
Berlanga is the kind of guy probably dumb enough to throw real cash there rather than keeping it for himself. So probably.
Yeah, and also Oscar saying Puerto Rican passport. I get that it's been.
Yeah, they're Americans, Oscar.
Yeah, first of all, he doesn't need a passport. Second of all, he's been on him saying, look, you were born in New York, yet you try to represent Puerto Rico, blah, blah, blah. I mean, people used to say the same thing about Oscar, born in the States. They didn't consider him a real Mexican. It is what it is right there. But let's quickly bring in Sean Zettel, Luke. We love this guy.
I love Sean. Shouts to Sean Zettel. Hey, MMA fans, if you want a guy, obviously besides BC, if you want a guy to cover in boxing who's got good takes, who loves the sport, and explains it in real interesting ways, Sean Zettel is the guy you should be paying attention to.
Yeah, he doesn't back away from the truth or his growing repertoire of boxing impersonations, which include Bob Arum, Caleb Plant, a few others. Here's his take while on the Porterway podcast of trying to do Berlanga's voice.
I seen, I'm like, come on, man.
Yo, when I went 12 with Canelo,
I'm like, come on,
I was telling, no, Sean, you got to understand, I was telling him, you a bitch.
I don't know how you do that,
I told
man.
him, yo, no, I told
don't know
Canelo.
how you do that.
That's why he don't want the rematch.
I don't know how you do that, man.
That could have been.
We won't play the video due to time, but you had mentioned it earlier this week. Sheeraz went around Times Square in New York City and was asking people, because Berlanga every interview is like, "This is my shit. I told Turkey this is my city." And Sheeraz is interviewing people in Times Square, and they're like, "Who's that? I have never heard of that." But Luke, we've heard of both. Who wins on Saturday?
I don't discount the possibility that a guy like Berlanga can will himself to a win here. I would not discount that. This is a close fight, and I can understand a pick for Berlanga, absolutely. But I'm going to go with Sheeraz. I just feel like Sheeraz is, I'm not going to say crazy more technically sound. I don't think that's right, but I think enough of a more developed, polished game that he should be able to win 7 of 12 rounds. Give me, by decision, Sheeraz.
People are wondering whether the turkey factor will play in and he'll get a Canelo favoritism on the scorecards.
Okay, but Berlanga is the hometown guy. I mean, it's in Queens, but Berlanga is the hometown guy.
I'm still going to, it's tough. I do think long-term Sheeraz is the better of the two, but he's coming into 68 here. New trainer, not the best performance last time. I think this will be a close fight. I'm still leaning Berlanga. I still am. He's more accustomed to this weight class. We'll see. This is a very good fight on Saturday in that tennis stadium. And in that co-main event, I believe it's just as good, despite the wide odds, as 3-division champion and WBC lightweight title holder Shakur Stevenson will be a minus 1,200 favorite when he enters the long-awaited mandatory challenge of 33-0 William Zepeda, who is plus 700. And Shakur has been spicy, whether he's been sitting down with me on the BCX or on Ariel's show or anytime they put a microphone in front of him, including when it's time to run all over Mike Coppinger. But Shakur got so spicy in predicting the finish that we had to bring in Cuervo for a little shots fired. As always, shots fired brought to you by Cuervo. Now is a good time to enjoy the tequila that invented tequila. Here's Shakur Stevenson at the final press conference predicting Saturday night's co-main event.
I've been calling this dude out for 3 years. I heard Oscar say that they've been trying to get this fight for 3 years, but they're lying. They had opportunity to fight me before. They turned it down, and it was all Oscar. So come Saturday night, I'm coming in here to beat his ass. He gonna come, he gonna be tough, strong, but I'm coming to whoop his ass. I stand by that. I stand by that. I'm fucking him up. Yeah. I'm fucking him up.
William? Luke, it's been a rough 2 years for Shakur PR-wise, but the odds don't lie here. Zepeda's one of the toughest challenges on his resume, an active, aggressive volume puncher, but I got to side with what Shakur's saying and what the odds makers are saying. If he's going to bounce back, and he's got all the pressure on him to bounce back, not look boring, not look anything else, he might just F up this guy in the end.
I do worry about Shakur's hands. It doesn't seem like they ever really heal. Even in his last bout, it showed up again, and it doesn't seem to be like the kind of thing where it prevents him from winning BC, but it does prevent him from being fully himself. He's constantly having to, to some level, holster his weapons. And I would just like to see one case, like, wouldn't it be awesome if you just have a fight where like Shakur gave you the, in terms of boxing scale, the full Monty, you know what I mean? Yeah. Where you really got to see, because you always see these glimpses of the defense. You see these glimpses of the precision punching, the jabbing, but like in a case where he really is quite dominant with it because he doesn't have to pump the brakes at all. That's what I would like to see here. But, I respect Zepeda, BC. I'm sure you do as well. Anyone who watches boxing probably would, and I don't in any way discount your characterization that he's one of the tougher matchups possible for Shakur at this stage of his career and given where things are, but I just think he's overmatched. I think Shakur is just totally overmatched. Shakur needs to fight someone, if you really want to see him tested, that not only has physical tools that make him think, but he doesn't have to be quite as technically precise, but has to keep him guessing a little bit. I don't know if Zepeda is that guy. I think this is Shakur's fight to lose, like most of them are.
I think Zepeda does not have the power that, say, Edwin de los Santos has, which produced that very boring fight against Shakur. I think the pressure's on Shakur, and he knows it. He's sick of the criticism. And most importantly, Zepeda's style is tailor-made. Shakur looks his best when you come after him like Oscar Valdez did, right? Then you'll see the full pound-for-pound guy who will stand in the pocket, dodge punches, and counter big. You're right to call out the hands. Ariel had said when they did that interview that they had a very weak shake, and a lot of people are pointing to the pictures of Shakur's hands during the press events this week not looking so great. I still think he gets it done and gets it done in a big way. So shots fired indeed, and a reminder from the great folks at Cuervo that we'll be back next Wednesday, July 16th, 11 a.m. Eastern in our studio there in Meadowlark in Manhattan for UFC 318 pregame preview, brought to you by Cuervo, Luke Thomas, Brian Campbell, and Jed Meshew number 2. Luke, very quickly, Sebastian Fundora around the corner, UFC Nashville preview to come. We can't overlook that Alberto Puello title defense at 140 against Subriel Matias. As we stand right now, the odds are telling you that this is going to be a very good fight with the pressure style of both, although they're different in how they apply it. Puello minus 125, Matias plus 100. Where are you leaning on this one?
Man, this is an interesting one. Matias came out of the PBC for a while, and he was just sitting everybody down. I think he had 5 guys quit on the stool in a row. Something absurd, right? I mean, there was a while there where he was looking like the boogeyman. Then he goes and signs with Eddie Hearn in a Puerto Rican homecoming fight, and it didn't go great. His stock has come a little bit down to earth, plus he's a slow starter. This is an interesting one for me, BC, because I think Matias is absolutely going to have his moments and then several rounds, especially starting after round 6. I think he's going to have Puello in a lot of trouble. But, dude, Puello's crafty. He's crafty. He's got a lot of skills. Yes, he can come forward. He can fight, on the move as well. And I think he's a little rangier, too. So I think this is, I love watching Matias compete, but I think this is Puello's time to shine. This is a great fight, a tough fight, but a lot for Matias to overcome here.
I would agree there. It's possible that what he does best could factor into here, but I think Puello's too quick, has the length, has the volume, and I think he knows how to win close fights like that title defense against Sandor Martin last time. I scored that for Martin. Puello was barely able to get that edge. Also, Luke, David Morrell Jr.'s back coming off the loss to David Benavidez. He'll take on 10-0 Russian who fights Olympic silver medalist who fights out of Australia, Imam Katayev. But that fellow we just found out is currently in the midst of a 2-year drug suspension, and he's going to fight anyway. So there you go. I don't know how that's possible.
Hey, boxing. Yay!
Yeah, that is what we do right there. All right, let's transition to topic number 3. We'll get into the MMA. Sebastian Fundora still to come. It's UFC Fight Night Nashville. It goes down Saturday night, not in that damn Apex, right? In front of an actual crowd in Tennessee. And this road to UFC Fight Night preview is brought to you by Total Wireless, the official wireless provider of UFC. Get unlimited data that won't slow you down. So heavyweights in the main event, and despite just one UFC fight coming in, 6'7" Brazilian Thaleson Teixeira is entering his first main event in the octagon, and he's more than a 2-1 betting favorite against 40-year-old Derek Lewis, who's won 2 of his last 3, and of course owns that UFC record for most knockouts. Luke, honest question. Is this too much too soon for the 25-year-old Teixeira, who has stopped all 8 of his opponents in the first round as a professional? Or would you say this is strong, fast-track matchmaking to try to find new contenders in a division like heavyweight that's always shallow?
Bro, heavyweight is in deep shit when they're fast-tracking guys there like they do at flyweight. Right? when heavyweight contendership queues look like water slides, it's like not what it used to be. Now, that being said, I don't dislike this fight. And in fact, Thaleson is an interesting guy, rangier, certainly taller. I'll say this. I've always believed, and I will always believe, if you see a guy, even if he's got one UFC win, but all the wins basically come around first round and first round stoppage, that means that they're obviously good and that they're obviously dangerous, but that they probably haven't fought anybody. And that will change here with this one. Now, I don't think Derek Lewis is, what he was at his very best, but he's still a dynamite puncher. Long Island Luke, can you give me the weigh-in information? Because I believe this was the lightest that Derek Lewis has come in years on weigh-in day, which is going to be helpful because he's going to need to be a little bit more mobile. Although I did think that there was a chance he might wrestle. What do you got for me?
He's not that light. 261 and Teixeira's 259.
No?
Yeah.
So I could have sworn I read that he came in much lighter, but okay, maybe I missed that part. Doesn't matter. There is a chance he could wrestle here, BC. I think is kind of interesting.
Wow.
So you're going to get a fuller test maybe of Teixeira's game. But if it stays standing, Derek Lewis might get real fucked up here. Like, Teixeira can do those kinds of things. Yeah, well, I mean, just like, again, who's more proven? Derek Lewis. Derek Lewis is infinitely more proven, has fought way better guys, has beaten better guys, of course. But he's getting a little bit up and long in the tooth, and Teixeira is, at least from a stylistic perspective, the kind of frame and skill set that could give Derek Lewis a ton of problems for sure.
My fear is just what we talked about, that it's too much too soon. Like when Alexander Romanov arrived on the scene and was, bodying dudes and wrestling the shit out of them, or Robelis Despagne at 6'7", and we're like, oh my God, this guy might be a high kicking killer. The reality is Teixeira has not gotten out of the first round in 8 pro fights. The other reality is that although he knocked out Justin Tafa in 35 seconds in his debut in February of this year, that was the first opponent he fought with a Wikipedia page. He did knock out Arthur Lopez on the Dana White Contender Series the year before. Luke, we don't know jack shit about his stamina, about his wrestling game. We only know that he's got really weird spiderweb tats on his midriff here. I don't know. I mean, it is a Lewis who's won 2 of his last 3. It is a Lewis who's always going to have that puncher's chance. This is a very interesting matchup, but one that we're going to pause here and come back on the other side, because our special guest has arrived on this Friday. We're a little bit over a week out from the July 19th PBC on Prime pay-per-view, which of course brings the return of Manny Pacquiao at 46 years old. Do you know who else it brings back? The towering Inferno, Sebastian Fundora, the elite junior middleweight, the world champion, who in that co-main event will be taking on Tim Tszyu for the second time to defend that WBC title. Sebastian, thank you so much for taking the time to join us. That first fight was blood, guts, insanity. You weathered the storm. Tszyu, to his credit, fought supremely well despite blood flowing in his face the whole time. Tell us, because we're layman's here. We're also lame, Sebastian. What the hell is it like to be in a blood and guts war like that? Because you always are smiling like you're having a good time.
It's just something we do, as fighters. We go in there and we break each other's faces, and it's just another day in the office.
There it is, just like that. All right. I mean, it is wild. I watched the fantastic Gloves Off special that Prime and PBC put out. Your episode with Tim Tszyu showing, of course, the great Fundora family, the farm there, the multiple world champions with your sister Gabriella, and then you've got a younger sister on the way as well. Talk to me about that life, because it seems simple. It seems like you're all about boxing and nothing else besides family. Where does this come from? Was your dad a fighter back in the day? He's the trainer. He's the architect of this. It seems very pure and all about the smoke. You're just boxers. That's what you are.
That's exactly what it is. What the video showed is our lifestyle, boxing. Of course, my father being a professional fighter back when he was younger, and now being our coach, definitely helped us become professional fighters or want this career path for ourselves. But we've been doing this our whole life as a family as well. So it's just it's nice that all these dreams are coming true. My sister's dreams coming true, and now we have another one coming in, Fabiola Fundora. She's a twisted sister, and I think she's the next big thing in boxing.
Okay, so you cut Tim Tszyu got cut, I should say, in the course of this fight. And for folks who have never seen it, it wasn't here. It was on top of the head, and it just got blood everywhere. Did his amount of bleeding, which is one of the most I've ever seen, was that ever distracting for you? I know you're focused. I know you're a professional. But, dude, that he had so much blood. You were showered in blood by the time it was over.
It didn't distract me. I wasn't bleeding like that. Why would it bother me?
To watch a guy with blood gushing all over him in highly unusual ways, I don't know. That seems a little distracting.
I would imagine if you're maybe not a boxer, but this is boxing. We get hit. There's going to be damage. There's going to be blood. There's going to be swelling. Those are things that happen in combat sports.
All right, so let's talk about some X's and O's here. When you fought him over the course of the 12 rounds, what was the most important technical problem you had to solve in order to win?
I don't think there was a problem. It was just that I needed to stick to my game. I needed my father to send me out there to box him. We went there and we boxed him. Maybe in the beginning we had a little rough start, but it wasn't anything too crazy in my mind.
In terms of what you had anticipated from Tim Tszyu and then what you ultimately got, was it exactly what you thought it would be, or did you learn anything new about him through the course of that contest?
I think it was exactly what I thought it was going to be. He's a warrior. He was a world champion, talented fighter. We saw all those things, but we adjusted and we won the fight.
Where does that performance from you and that win rank in terms of your professional career? Is that your favorite win to date, or is there a different one?
It's definitely not my favorite win, but it did make me a unified world champion. So that's something I'm always going to have to cherish. That's when the dream finally came true.
Well, it's a testament to your belief in yourself, your work ethic, your ability to bounce back, because you took that fight against Tim Tszyu on extreme last minute notice when Keith Thurman pulled out due to injury. You got an opportunity to headline PBC's first pay-per-view in the Prime era, but you were coming off of a knockout loss to Brian Mendoza that I think people who maybe didn't believe in you said, look, there's my proof. And, Sebastian, it seemed like a pretty devastating KO. How did you bounce back mentally, regain your invincibility, and say, yeah, not only am I okay fighting Tszyu last minute, hey, if it gets blood and guts and it gets crazy, I'm willing to thrive in there. That was impressive from the outside looking in.
Yeah, we don't really focus on the past, With that fight with Mendoza, it happened, a simple mistake. We're winning that fight pretty easy. But again, that simple mistake will cost you that fight. And we lost. And I accept that. But, just like if I would have won that fight, we would have went back to the gym and started training again. And that's exactly what we did. They knocked on the door with the title fight. And of course, we're not going to say no. We were right there at that. I mean, we were interim champion at the time. So we were ready for those fights. It's just, we tripped, but we got back up.
Speaking of that first fight one more time, that cut changed a lot of things. It also ultimately changed your game plan, as you really won that fight with your jab. I mean, you had to be gnarly. You had to take big punishment. You had to be willing to get in there, but you always are, to your credit. When did that switch game plan wise, where you're like, I can keep him at distance with this big left hand, or the big right hand, excuse me?
It's just, I think that was a plan from the beginning. Again, maybe I started a little slower than I should have, but that was always the plan from the beginning. That cut was there. A lot of people like to bring up the cut, and a lot of people like to make excuses for Tim. I mean, he's saying it now too, but I remember every single round he was staring at me pretty well. I think if it was really that bad, or if he really thought it was that hard, they would have stopped the fight.
What do you say to critics who say before the cut, Tim was having great success and looked like he was hurting you, looked like he was backing you up? How do you respond to that?
Championship fights aren't 2 rounds.
Yeah.
It's a 12-round fight. And I felt I won that fight pretty fairly easy. But, with this fight, you guys are going to see a whole different fight. I look forward to showing you guys next week for sure.
Oh, I look forward to seeing it, Sebastian. You better believe that. I got to ask you how this fight came together. You had 2 of 4 recognized belts in this division. Xander Zayas was your mandatory. It looked like it came to some negotiation. And then you announced the Tszyu rematch, which I'd prefer as a fan. How did that break down behind the scenes?
It's just really as simple as that. With you saying that as a fan, you're not the only one thinking those things. There's bigger fights to be made. Belts are nice, but I mean, when you have like legacy fights compared to those, everything's kind of extra. You want to make a stamp in the sport. I think this fight with Sue is definitely going to put a bigger stamp than me defending my WBO with Zayas.
You've mentioned that you got the chance to become, and you did become, a unified champ, and you're talking now about like there being legacy and other things. If we spoke in 5 years, right, 5 years from today, what would you have want to accomplish? Like, what would be for you an ideal set of circumstances that would make you feel completely fulfilled as a boxing professional?
As of right now, I feel pretty fulfilled, but of course we continue to grow. Uh, we'll see. We'll see in 5 years. 5 years is a long time. There's a lot of stuff we could do in 5 years. So, maybe multiple divisions, or maybe undisputed at this weight class. We'll see. We'll see. 5 years is a long time. I think in 1 year you'll see a big difference.
Do you watch tape on your opponent?
Sometimes, but not really a big thing for my camp. My father does a lot of the looking, watching the fights. Of course, I just have to listen to my dad. But I watch boxing, but I don't really watch my opponents.
Is he the one that comes up with the game plan then?
Of course.
Yeah.
That's the head honcho right there.
Yeah, don't want to get sideways with dad. I understand. Humor me if you can here. Put on your boxing analyst tie, if you would. Right here we have Sebastian Fundora, a world champion in boxing. Give me a sense of what you think about how competitive Canelo and Crawford is going to be in September.
I don't think it's gonna be. Maybe it might be competitive the first 4 rounds. I want to see how Crawford does going up to 168. How comfortable he is, because from 147 to 154, those you see a slower pace in him, and now we're going 2 more weight classes up. Let's see if this time he had of rest, he can adjust to the weight class, because he's a fast fighter. He's a great fighter. But Canelo's been at this weight class for a while. He's been adjusted to his weight class. He's even fought at 175. So we'll see if Crawford can make the adjustments at that weight class, because he's a great 147. He's a good 154. But is he good at 168?
Yeah, we're going to find out. Keep your analyst tie on for a second. The main event next Saturday, July 19th, PBC on Prime, pay-per-view, of course, is Manny Pacquiao at 46. Same age as me, by the way, Sebastian. I ain't getting in that ring only to interview you. That's about it. But the great Pacquiao will be back challenging Mario Barrios for his welterweight world title. You're a fighter. He's got 4 years off. He's already accomplished everything. But Manny does seem like a one-of-one alien, that if anybody could pull off something crazy like this, it might be him. How do you break this fight down when you look at it? What is this fight going to look like?
To me, I see it as a 50-50. Barrios, maybe a 45-50 for Barrios. Barrios is young. Barrios is a strong champion. And he's been getting better with every fight. But Pacquiao is Pacquiao, of course. We saw him with Thurman. We did see him with Ugas. But that's why it gives me a little question, because of his last fight. You see the age a little bit, and now he's even older. So we'll see how he comes out for this one. Hopefully he took that rest, and now he's a bit more motivated. But again, Father Time is undefeated. So we will see.
Two quick ones before we go, Sebastian. Thank you so much for your time. You're aligned with some very powerful people. You're a great promoter, Samson Lukowitz, Al Heyman, PBC. But the boxing landscape is changing so quickly. Jake Paul's a power promoter. Turki Al-Sheikh is working with everyone, it seems. David Benavidez, David Morrell Jr., a few others. Now you got Dana White and the UFC coming in. What do you make of all this kind of crazy change to the foundation and the structure of what we're dealing with in making big fights?
It's different. It's definitely different. It's not what I guess the boxing world is used to. But you know what? It's bringing in different fans. It's bringing in different people. It seems good for boxing. And if anything is good for boxing, I'm fine with it.
All right. All right. Finally, to close here, Sebastian, you're 6'6", man. I asked you in the past if you play hoops, if you got game. You're like, I don't even think I could pick up a ball and dribble it. If we set up a hoop at 10 feet, you got to be able to dunk it. Come on, Seb. You know you can. Tell me what happens. Is this going to look like white man can't jump? What is it?
No, I could do it. I could do it. But right now, you know what? I'm not even caring about basketball. Look at the hat. Look at the hat. I'm a baseball fan right now. That's what I care about. That and boxing. Those are the only things that matter.
There it is. Sebastian Fundora, we can't wait. Just 8 days from now, the rematch with Tim Tszyu to defend your WBC title at 154. Maybe another fight of the year contender coming our way. Thank you for the time. Best of luck to you next week.
Thank you, Brian.
Good stuff there from the towering Inferno, all 6'6" of him. Luke, let's get back into our UFC Nashville preview. Of course, brought to you by Total Wireless as we are on the road here to UFC Fight Night with the official wireless provider of UFC. Get unlimited data that won't slow you down. We set it up with Derek Lewis being the underdog here at plus 240. He is, though, riding a streak in which he's won 2 of 3. He's on a little bit of an uptick. Luke, how much for the minus 298 Taliesin should we be worried about the fact that he's never gotten out of the first round and that outside of taking one half of the Tora Taufa, dude, he ain't fought anybody with a pulse. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, it's completely legitimate. There is simply no way to know until we know, right? I mean, that's just the reality. This is a sport where people's confidence in you, I should say, pardon me, comes from being vetted. And he's not been vetted there in that way that Derek has been vetted. Derek, and by the way, this is 261 is the lightest he's ever come in. So I was right about that. Now, it's not a huge amount, but it certainly is somewhat noteworthy.
You could have diarrhea. You never know.
Yeah, listen, I had diarrhea before the show. You understand? Hey, listen, I mean, if anybody understands, I mean, come on now. But what I'm just trying to be serious for a moment. Listen, what if he has, to the point you raised, BC, what if his cardio falls off a cliff midway through second round? What if he gets taken down and looks like a fucking amateur? We don't know the answers to these. We just don't. So I can understand why I can understand why the odds makers are the way they are, because they're probably betting on the fact that he's a little bit more youthful, doesn't have as many miles on him, relatively speaking, through MMA anyway, and has a style that's going to be a real problem for Derek. And what I think they're simultaneously betting is that Derek is, over the hill, essentially. That, yes, he is more proven, he is more vetted, he's got wins over better guys, but he's just a shell of himself. I think that's what they're kind of expecting here. I think, they're probably right, but certainly Derek Lewis has upset a lot of people in pretty big ways in the past.
Well, I'm not trying to say Teixeira can't fight and he can't punch. He's shown you that in the brief glimpses we've got. But Long Island Luke, from a betting standpoint, again, plus 240 on the greatest knockout king in UFC history. Are you taking it?
Yeah, I got him at plus 230. I saw it just grew to plus 240. But yeah, dude, it all comes down to the experience for me. Taliesin Teixeira has 8 pro fights. Derek Lewis has 29 fights in the UFC. Yeah. He's got more than 3 times the amount of UFC fights as Teixeira has pro fights. Granted, he's 40 years old. He may be over the hill, but I feel like at the odds, at heavyweight, you got to take the plus money.
Hey, if I'm him, I'm trying to take him down. I'm trying to.
I will say this. Let me ask. But what if Taliesin gets another first round KO? What would that say?
Because then we can be really excited about his future. He's only 25 years old. I'll look forward to it. But.
I was going to say, it still doesn't really answer some of the bigger questions that you're kind of hoping to get from Derek. Like, what I hope this happens in this fight, if nothing else, BC, win or lose, is that it goes to the second or third round, and you get something, because he's not really going to answer the wrestling questions unless Teixeira's wrestling is horrible, But if it's serviceable, he should be fine. But it's like, what does he look like over the course of the distance? But if he ices Derek in the first round, you kind of have the same problem, because I'm telling you, the reason the odds look that way is not because people are like, oh, Teixeira's the next coming of championship gold. They're looking at Derek and they're like, he's looking a little bit like food at this stage of his career. And whether or not that's fair, I think it's what they're doing.
Well, the guy loves food. Let's be very honest with you. Okay. There's no doubt about that.
Doesn't?
I mean, I'd take the gamble on him, but I got to see how good Teixeira is. It's going to be a very, very interesting fight for as long as it lasts. I hope Derek wrestles. I hope he tries hard in that regard to expose Teixeira and get him into the later rounds. Let's talk about this co-main event in the welterweight division, as 42-year-old Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, the former 2-time title challenger, has lost 4 of his last 5, and he will be a plus 350 underdog against Brazilian submission expert Gabriel Bonfim, who comes in at nearly 5-1, the betting favorite. Luke Thomas, is this going to be a pretty good celebrity name to add to Bonfim's Wikipedia page here? Or can you see a path for Wonder Boy to slow down this young, aggressive fighter?
What were the odds again?
Minus 455 Bonfim, plus 350 Wonder Boy.
Jesus. The thing is this, it's like I'm ready to believe that the very best, even like the mostly best of Wonder Boy is behind us. Am I crazy in thinking that's a little bit too much confidence in Bonfim? Am I?
Yes, but Wonder Boy was stopped in his last two, albeit submission by Shavkat, knockout by Buckley.
Yeah. I think Bonfim should win this. I think that the chin of Wonder Boy, he's hard to hit, obviously, but the chin is a little bit diminished. Plus, people kind of know how to fight him now in ways that they didn't for, pretty long periods of time. But the era of him giving Woodley as a champion all he could handle, or at least, something he could handle anyway, is long since over. Now, again, Shavkat more proven. Buckley, even, despite his last fight, more proven. Bonfim, to me, I don't know. This seems a little like I don't quite agree with the odds being where they are. However, I just feel like there's so much tape, and Wonder Boy, without denial, is simply in a much more diminished state than he has been, even relative to a couple of years ago. Bonfim should win this.
Yeah, Bonfim, or as they call him, Maratinha. Luke, is that the nickname?
I don't. Yeah, but I don't know. I don't know what that's supposed to mean. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't speak Portuguese. He is 17-1 overall as a professional. That only loss was 3 fights ago, 2 years ago, to Nicholas Dalby via second round TKO with knee.
Which was and that was a bad loss for me. Like that loss, when I remember watching it, being like, Dalby is not a technician. He's a grinder and a pursuer, but he's not a technician. And it's like, I just wonder what might happen against someone who is slick enough to set stuff up and then, hit you from angles. I guess we'll see.
Yeah, we will see on that one. Continuing on down this card, Long Island Luke told us this week, I think as did you, Luke, that we need to circle this featherweight matchup with Calvin Kattar going in there against Steve Garcia. Garcia, a minus 125 favorite to the plus 105 Kattar, who is 37 years old. And I got bad news for you. He's lost 4 in a row, including 5 of his last 6. Who's coming or going in this matchup?
I like Garcia here. I think Kattar is... Listen, I think Kattar's a great guy. We've both probably interviewed him a couple of times. He seems like a cool dude. His camp seems like a real great camp. Shouts to New England Cartel and Tyson Chartier. I like all of those guys. I really do. I'm not trying to be dismissive or insulting when I say this, but dude, like Kattar's damaged goods, man. Like he has been beaten up a lot. And the Max fight is the one that everyone remembers, but like there's been a lot of these fights that have been too much damage incurred, and I just think it has derailed him at this point. I mean, I don't think this fight is unwinnable. That would be a little crazy, but I think he's on the other side of something, and it's going to be very difficult even to hold on to what he has.
Steve Garcia's won 5 in a row, all by stoppage, including one against Chase Hooper to kick off that streak. This would be a much bigger name for him to add to that, but Kattar's going to be game and willing to go for it.
That's the problem.
Yeah,
that's the problem.
Ultimately. Yeah, and we are told by Long Island Luke that Mahatinha means little hammer, like Maheta.
No, he's asking. He doesn't know.
I'm guessing. Yeah.
Oh, I thought he was describing the Portuguese for us. I don't know. Maybe there's an Australian equivalent that he knew. I don't know. Luke, Nate the Train in the UFC is back at featherweight. Nate Landwehr will take on Morgan. Do I say Charrier?
I think, yeah.
Charrier. You care about this? I always care when Nate the Train's back in it.
This is an interesting one. Charrier is like a little bit of a slickster when it comes to striking. He's not super great at it, but he's got a little bit of it in him. And, we all know what the Nate Landwehr experience is. The locomotive just keeps on moving. Although he's got some slickness to his game in certain respects. But, I don't know if a guy like Charrier can withstand. Well, what are the odds on this one? Because my hunch is that Charrier is not. Landwehr has had some rougher patch more recently. However, Sherry, I don't know if he's able to handle the pressure of someone like this consistently over 15 minutes. What are the odds on this one?
According to Draft, I don't have DraftKings in front of me, Luke. Do you have it, Long Island?
I
Luke?
got it. It's plus 210, Nate, minus 258, Sharia.
Oh, that high? Well,
yeah, Nate's a pretty big dog.
I mean, how do you feel about that, Long Island, Luke? Because, again, I do think Sherrier is the more polished of the two, and that typically ends up being Landwehr's kryptonite. But I don't know if he's fought someone who just will bark at him the whole kind of time.
I think it's because Nate's coming off that stoppage loss to Doo-Ho Choi, in which he kind of got dominated. So I feel like stock is low in Nate right now, but I think it's closer than the odds. I'm staying away from it.
Superboy is a puncher. Charrier is not.
He got him in a crucifix though, and finished him in a crucifix. He finished him on the ground.
Yeah, but he fucked him up on the feet too. Like, I mean, it wasn't one or the other. Yeah.
I mean, but Morgan's gonna fuck him up on the feet too, probably. So
Charrier has lost 2 of his last 3 though, and he calls himself the last pirate. It's interesting.
Dude, the whole pirate gimmick, him and Charles Bullet, it's like, dude, I don't know who needs to tell you this. Pirates are lame as fuck. Like, it's the matey. Let's not get scurvy with the maidens. Hey, take off that fucking bandana and stop playing Dungeons and Dragons. Thank you.
There we go with that. Wow. But last time we saw Derek Lewis, by the way, I believe it was the last time, he showed us a lot of himself. Can we recall that moment?
Do I have to look at his ass?
That was brief. Luke,
Jesus.
If he does upset Taliesin Teixeira, he's got to go full Monty, right? That's the only move left in the playbook.
BC is straight up asking me on a Friday morning, if Derek Lewis wins, does he need to masturbate in front of everybody? And I'm like, BC, that's for you. That's for you at the bus stop, buddy.
All right, real question. If he knocked out Teixeira and then went full hog, not to touch the thing, just to show
I'm sure the sponsor loves this conversation.
Does he lose his job? Does he get arrested? What happens next? You don't get in trouble in the UFC. Yeah.
No, I mean, you do UFC, you got to kill a guy before then, and even then they'll bail you out and let you fight. So no, I don't think you'd be in any trouble. But to your point, there will be antics. How about that? Euphemistically, there will be antics.
Long Island Luke let us know on the early weigh-in results that Chidi Njokwani in his welterweight bout against Jake Matthews has missed weight by a half pound, coming in at 171.5. We'll keep you updated with any other changes. What else are we caring about on this card, Luke? I mean, Max Griffin, Chris Curtis is becoming some trash talk fueled action at welterweight that we're going to see in that featured prelim.
I've been talking to Chris Curtis all week, and just a reminder, he's going to welterweight in this fight, which, he went like 1-3 in the PFL, and I wasn't too sure about it. I've been checking in on him every day, quite literally, about his weight cut. It has gone exceedingly well. I don't know. Has he weighed in already, Long Island Luke?
Yeah, the weigh-ins are over. Everyone made weight except Chitty.
Okay. Yeah, so, I mean, he told me, I think, yesterday he woke up at 170.6. So the weight cut went super smooth for him. Now, that doesn't tell you everything. I think Max Griffin is going to be on him and try and wrestle him like white on rice. So his gas tank is going to get tested in here. You can get stalled out. And, this is a big fight for Chris Curtis because he's getting older. He's trying to shake things up here a little bit. The thing that's held him back is the body punching. I don't know if the judges really recognize it, even when it's valuable. And it takes him some time occasionally to get things going. And Griffin is the kind of guy who can just stall you out, even if he can't do necessarily a lot of damage. So it's a bit of a trickier fight than it looks, but at least in terms of the weight cut, Chris Curtis looks pretty ready.
Look, if Topuria had missed weight against Oliveira, do you think he would have took one of those blinking lights from Chef Cass and put it on his balls and knocked him out and blamed him publicly?
Yeah, we're going to lose this sponsor, and I don't blame him. You know what I'm saying?
Sorry about that. Long Island Luke, do you have anything else to say about betting bangers on this undercard?
Betting bangers, not so much. I do like Jake Matthews as a dog, especially now that Njokwani missed weight. Junior Tafa, we mentioned earlier in the week, making his light heavyweight debut. That could be something new and exciting. I don't know. Fatima Klein, Long Island's own, opening the card. She's like a minus 1,000 favorite, so whatever. But
she's pretty good.
Shout out. Yeah, she's really good.
Yeah, there we go. All right. Let's go to topic number 4. It got batshit crazy yesterday. I was here for most of it, but I'm excited to hear what Luke has to say. BKFC put together what can only be called craziness. It was a summit meeting. It was they called it the Champion Summit, in which Conor McGregor, David Feldman and company gave a state of the promotion address. And from the intense fireworks that were shown between McGregor and Mike Perry to a comically sad vibe overall that screamed strip club buffet with a side of white lightning, this thing was the kind of embarrassing train wreck that you couldn't avoid, that only the state of Florida could normalize. Shout out to Hollywood down there. Oh yeah, they also announced a $25 million baddest man tournament beginning in March of next year that will feature 32 competitors and a first prize, and this is no joke, of $15 million. Luke Thomas, considering how much we talk about the lack of legitimate competition for the UFC in the MMA space, what type of potential disruptor do you believe this BKFC ambitious tournament could be in the overall combat sports news cycle next year?
They have to pull it off, right? So I agree with you. I looked at the prize money. I mean, I think it's $15 million for the winner, and I think the runner-up also gets $1 million. But then it's still some pretty high prizes, even up to, I forget how much every participant gets. There's a breakdown of it. I think Ben the Bane Davis has one, if you guys want to see it. It's interesting. It's an interesting concept. 15 million is going to be the most that those guys who are competing in that have probably ever gotten or will ever get.
That's the most that any UFC fighter has ever gotten, right? I mean, seriously.
Right. Yeah, no, it's absolutely, that's the case. Maybe Conor would be a little bit different, but even then it would be quite competitive.
Yeah,
it's
maybe outside of UFC 229's main event, I don't think anyone's ever made that.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, it's extremely, dude. That's very good boxer money, much less bare knuckle. I mean, it's got to be a record for bare knuckle. And so the point I'm trying to make is like this kind of tournament where you're going to have ostensibly a bunch of different figures. You got a real prize at the end. Now they got to pull it off, BC. They got to do it big. We've seen them do it big. They can do that. And they have to get a little lucky. Everybody knows what makes a tournament magic is, yes, the promoter promotes it. They set up the brackets right. You got the right names. But at some point, it just kind of has to unfold in a way that makes sense for everybody. So it's really going to come down to who's in this tournament, how they're matched up, what kind of things they deliver. But to answer the question, to succeed in the way that you're talking about, it requires a lot. What I will say is this tournament, if executed well and with a little bit of luck behind it, dude, it could do a lot. It could be, I poo-poo them for other reasons. They signed Jamel Herring, who was fresh off a domestic violence arrest, because it's just combat sports these days. You got to love Hitler or be racist to get a job, apparently. But they know how to deliver action. They've proven that. And they've got, as we indicated, real prize money at the end. PFL, just puts, I think Dan Hardy is doing his level best to make the product better, and he is. But I think to MMA fans, it just doesn't feel like a useful alternative to UFC. BKFC could do interesting things. So we can't say at the outset what's going to happen, but what I can say is, are the ingredients there to make a quantum leap forward for the brand? Yes.
And look, this press conference was full of out of control fireworks that at the end of the day, I didn't hate. But dude, they have cornered the market. They know exactly who they are. They are a trashy pro wrestling style presentation using, combat names we know and to some degree like. It depends on the names in this tournament. What weight class is it going to be? Did they say that?
It's open weight, is it not? Did I miss that part?
Yeah, it's like 185 to 265, I think.
Yeah, it's
That's
like open
crazy.
weight. Yeah. Which by the way, this is what I mean. And it's one of the things that one did well. One having a different scoring criteria, a different rule set. The hydration thing was stupid, but everything else has been kind of interesting. A genuine alternative. Gamifying MMA with lesser names, not always, but often lesser names, is not a real alternative. But a bare knuckle thing with an open weight system, dude, you're probably going to get some interesting results out of that. Some predictable ones too, obviously. But this is what I mean as who can provide a genuine alternative to what UFC is doing. BKFC, again, has the ingredients.
I wonder if they bring in boxers. I wonder if you bring in, think about it, older names.
Here's the prize. First place, 15 million. Second place, $1 million. Third and fourth, 500K. Fifth through eighth, 300K. 9th through 16th, 200K. 17th through 32nd, 100K. So if you're in this tournament, basically, you get 100K alternates, 50K. Dude, Those
That's
are
legit.
no bullshit. Those are no bullshit purses. That is a legitimate fucking prize.
Dude, I wonder if they bring in every free agent in combat sports possible who has a name, even if you're old. The weight classes seem to be, what do you say, 185 to heavyweight there? Like people age later more gracefully. I wonder if they're going to attract a lot of names with this, but it was part of a larger announcement for a lot of things. I think 2 divisions, they're going to do a 4-man tournament to crown a new champion there where the title is vacant. They also announced 4 big signings. Long on, Luke, if we could show that graphic of former MMA names: Yoel Romero, Maheta Thiago Santos, Derek Cisco Brunson, and Aspen Ladd. Luke, I know none of those 4 names are in their marketable or critical prime, but those are names that I'll tune in for. And I know not all of those are going to be in this tournament, but a few of them probably will be.
I'm nonplussed by those names. Those names don't do shit for me. But
if 3 of the 4 of those are in the heavyweight, this open weight tournament, whatever it is, I'm into it. All right, I'm into it.
Yeah, I don't know. They didn't do much for me, but that doesn't matter. Like the question is what they do for the market, and that remains to be seen. But I will say this, and I think you would agree. They need a couple of really interesting names in this tournament, and I don't know who that would be. I don't know who's available. I'm not sure what that looks like. But they do. They need some names that fans go, whoa, that is surprising. Like when Paulie Malignaggi fought Artem Lobov, I know he lost, but it was like a really interesting moment where it's like, whoa, this is like there was intrigue to it based on his background. You need something like that.
Let's get Francis Ngannou in this.
Hey, dude, who the fuck wants to fight Francis bare knuckle?
Well, I mean, 15 million is potentially at stake.
Just sign up for a fucking guillotine, French Revolution style. Like, I mean, who the fuck would want to do that? Too bad
Kimbo wasn't around and close to 40, because that'd be perfect right there. This had off the charts craziness. Let's open with Conor McGregor's opening statement here.
What's good, Hollywood? Well, as you can see beside me and in front of me, some of the baddest men and women to ever grace planet Earth. This is what we're about here at Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship, the alien of combat sport. And may we rise above the night sky and rain down blows viciously on all our deniers. And announce here today that Bare Knuckle FC has no love for the big glove. So let's get going, Bare Knuckle. Let's go, Florida, and let's announce some incredible matchups, some shock signings, and the most lucrative tournament in all of combat sport, where we crown in an open weight the baddest man on the planet. Let's go, give it up. Come on.
Luke, I know that guy's a POS. I know we're more done with him than need him. I know he's still talking about coming back and fighting on the White House lawn. But he's perfect for this circus. He really is. You can't deny that. A poked up Conor is perfect for this circus.
He's using this whole thing to launder his image. I hope everybody knows that, right? I mean, the guy keeps taking L's in court over serious allegations about, and now civil. I'm not sure what the proper word would be, but being held liable in a civil court. And then having a disaster of an appeal scenario where, we've been over it. This is designed to launder his image. However, to your point, I mean, here's what's missing. He's got a bit of a celebrity factor, and you're right. He's got the whole trashy thing that works for this brand. But if I can be serious on one level, bro, he just has energy. He just has energy. He comes in there. Yeah, he's got like.
I wish he could get out of his UFC deal and fight in BKFC. I think it would be insane to watch.
Well, I don't need to see him fight ever again, but to your point, I think fans would be interested in that if that's what the point you're making. And more to the point, like, this is what I mean. Guys aren't showing up and being like, all right, who's got the first question? He's going in there. He's got rhymes. He's like his veins bulging out of his neck as he screams. And, that's not going to appeal to every fan. But someone is trying to pump some life into a fight promotion. And I'm telling you, among other reasons, it's why it's kind of working, to say nothing of the fact that they're right. That tournament that they structured from a monetary standpoint is no bullshit.
That's great. We also saw him nearly come to blows with Mike Perry, and it was crazy. Let's listen to this.
Yeah, you're welcome back, because I welcomed you back. October 11th is your date, and you'll dance for me, boy. You'll dance for the owner, and then we can talk. But your date is October 11th. Michael Perry, the return of Platinum. And we've got some hell of an announcement for an opponent for you. One of the baddest men to ever grace the Ultimate Fighting Championship when it comes to bare knuckle. And he's going to throw down with you in front of me for my viewing pleasure. And then I'll decide if you're worthy.
Dance for me. Who's his opponent? That's a badass ex-UFC, or is it going to be Tony Ferguson?
Oh my God, dude, that would be incredibly sad.
Ferguson's taking a boxing match, he said, coming up.
Yeah.
Perry seemed to also work himself into a shoot against David Mundell, the BKFC middleweight champion who goes by the nickname Redneck. Watch this.
Keep it respect. Keep it respect. These are two real bad motherfuckers right here. Two of the realest, baddest motherfuckers in the game right here. Oh, he's done many a time. I've got real respect deep down. Fucking go get it. Go get it. Go get it. Hey, no, don't do that. Come on, don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that.
Mundell and Perry. It's a fight everybody wants to see. Here's Leonardo Elvis. Let's bring him out.
It's a hell of an advertisement for his coke dealer, Luke. Did you see that movie at the end? That's wild, bro. Anyway,
Jerry.
Dude, he's like, go for it. Oh, no, not here. No. And then he turns into Dave Schaller between Jones and Cormier. It was great. Dude, I have to tell you, I'm into this absolute bullshit. We don't even have the clip of Christine Ferreira telling that chick that she swallowed too much cum, but that also happened in this press conference.
Luke. You know,
wow.
I had such a good joke, and I have to shield it because of the North Korean censors. Okay, so that's all I'm going to say.
That's crazy. I cannot wait to find out who's in that tournament. Thank you, BKFC, for being exactly as weird as you are and making cocaine friendly again. Oh my God, just wow. All right, topic number 5. We go from the ridiculous to the inspirational in a lot of ways. We've chronicled, of course, the very serious health turn for former UFC fighter, former Bellator champion, and ONE FC veteran Ben Askren, who ended up needing double lung transplants after a very hellacious infection that led to pneumonia and so much more that went on there. And he also was denied insurance coverage of that and reportedly needed a multi-million-dollar payout from a benefactor that has not become public in order to get that. Then Ben gave his first video update, and it is humbling, inspirational, and gnarly all at the same time. Here's Ben Askren in his own words from the hospital bed as he continues to fight this battle out.
What's up, guys? Have not given you an update in a while. Figured you deserve one. Whenever this is all the way over, I actually just read through my wife's journal because I don't remember anything from May 28th to July 2. No recollection. New idea. No idea what happened. We'll kind of go through it all, and it's I just read through my wife's journal. It's like a movie. It's ridiculous. So I only died 4 times, right? Where the ticker stopped for about 20 seconds. That's not ideal. I don't know if you guys know that. But I got the double lung transplant. I made it out to the other side of it, gaining quite a bit of strength. We're going to use everything again. I was actually on a scale yesterday, 147 pounds. I've been on 47 pounds since 15 years old. So I was like 50 pounds in a 45-day period. So man, that was a battle. Luckily, I don't remember most of it. And the thing that was most impactful to me was all the love I felt from everybody. And it was almost like I got to have my own funeral, right? I still remember it 30 years ago when Dave Schultz died, and you listen to all these older people, recollect how much they enjoyed him, how much they loved him. And, You know, obviously, he never had to hear that. I'm sure some people have told him. But, so man, the outpouring of love from the wrestling community was just amazing. It felt so good. And so, you know, I'm more motivated than ever just to keep give back and do what I can and help out the best I can help out. I love you guys. I appreciate you guys. It's been tough, not only on me but my whole family and my close community. So I appreciate everything. Hope you guys appreciate the update. And like I said, sometime down the road, maybe Amy and I can detail everything a little more.
You there, BC?
Yeah, I can hear you. There's a side of you that's happy and, you know, it's inspirational to see. There's another side of you that's sad to see a 40-year-old man who was in great health, a great athlete in that position. Thank God he's, you know, still fighting and recovering. But this is scary. It went from pneumonia to a staph infection. And then, like we said, the instant need for a double lung transplant. A lot of luck had to come his way to even get that. And obviously he's going to need continued prayers and luck for the lungs to continue to work. But I don't even know what to say, Luke. I'm humbled watching that.
Wow, man. It's a miracle he's alive, you know, and it's a wonderful miracle, of course, but it's a miracle. Like, I don't know how many people would have been able to survive something like that. Dude, to lose 45 or 50 pounds in 45 days or whatever it was, basically have more than a pound a day. That's insane, dude. That is insane, to say nothing of the fact that you have two lungs that you were not born with. To say nothing of the fact that, like, you know, your body's probably been ravaged and put through the ringer. I mean, the recovery is going to be slow and probably take some time. I don't know what, you know, I don't know what a best case scenario looks like. I don't, you know, I mean, I don't know. But I can just say, I think a lot of people probably would say at this moment, like, dude, what a fighting spirit this guy has inside of him, huh? Pretty incredible that he was able to do this. And it just bothers me so much. And I promise I'll just say it one time and I'll leave it alone. But the fact that the insurance denied him, the insurance took a look at his life and said, it's okay for you to die. And this seems to me unforgivable and not a civilized way to organize a society. I'll leave it at that, but it really, really bothers me that happened. However, to the point you raise, at least he had enough of a public profile that he was able to find, you know, a way to get this paid for. So whoever paid for that, thank you. That's an incredible gesture. You saved a guy's life, literally. And
whoever donated their organs to that. I mean, this is incredible.
I mean, you're right. No, you're so right. I mean, and again, the doctors and the nurses who've been watching him and trying to keep him alive, like, everybody here is owed a debt of gratitude. But I'll just say, Ben, it's so nice to hear from you. Please keep us updated when you can. Take your time to heal. And while it was sobering to watch that, BC, I have to say I'm so glad that he was able to have the strength to deliver a message to the public like that. And for everyone watching too, man, dude, I don't know how you felt, BC, but like in my late teens and early 20s, like I felt invincible. And then the older you get, like it's like when everyone's life is different, but like when I was a kid, I didn't know personally anybody who had cancer. I didn't know personally people who had suffered like tragedies like this, you know? And now the older I get, I know a lot of people where terrible shit has happened to them. And it just really reminds you, like, oh my God, dude, everything we have can be taken in an absolute instant when you least expect it, when you think it's the most improbable, when it's never top of mind. It can all be taken like that. So
it puts in perspective the problems, the battles we have day to day, and, you know, not only our first world lives, but, you know, even think of things that are serious like losing your job or this and that. You know what I mean? It all pales in comparison to when it hits you right in the face and it's time to fight to survive. And yeah, obviously our prayers are out to him, his wife Amy, who you know, must be going through it on a level we can't even imagine, his kids and all that. And, you know, he mentioned he got to hear some of the support that people never get to hear when they die young like this. And I saw a very heartfelt video from Corey Anderson, basically, you know, giving Askren credit for his entire career in MMA and the inspiration and the help that he got early on. And it was great to hear that as well. I've always really liked Ben as a personality, as a fighter. Never, you know, really got to know him or anything, but damn, Damn, man. Quick tweet from Jake Paul, who ex-opponent who also supported it, said, shout out, just proved that he's one of the toughest fighters of all time. I didn't love where Jake was kind of calling out Dana White at that Chavez press conference. And, you know, I don't know who ultimately came through and helped Ben out, but God bless whoever did in the end. And if Jake was a part of that, or even, you know, bringing more eyeballs to it, I can certainly respect that. But damn, Ben, keep fighting, man. There is a lot to live for always. And I'm hoping these lungs take and that health. And damn, Luke. Okay, it is what it is, but damn, man. Right? Wow. All right. Those are our 5 topics for today. Thank you so much for playing. And I know we've already talked about it at length, but one final reminder that it's going down tonight, Friday, July 11th. Netflix and Most Valuable Promotions are bringing the fight the whole world is waiting for. Katie Taylor stepping back into the ring, chasing that ultimate glory. But Amanda Serrano, she's coming for redemption. It's the 3rd and maybe final chapter of their legendary rivalry. It's about to get personal, live from the iconic Madison Square Garden in New York City. It's Taylor Serrano. One more time. You don't want to miss this smoke tonight on Netflix, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. Let's go. We close this loaded Friday show with our pair of fan segments, and morningcombat@gmail.com is your entry into Mikey's inbox and your chance to show him exactly what your pubes look like. I mean, it's happened before. I hope it doesn't happen again. We're not always right. We get a lot of facts wrong. This is our chance to be accountable, to be humble, and to maybe take that L. It's called Dead Wrong.
Dead Wrong.
There it is. And we start off with Jay Paquette in the house. He says, good day, Luke, BC, and Diggity Donk Nation. Your 2022 MK Co-Donk of the Year, JP, calling BC out on the Dead Wrong on Monday's show at 1:45:08. After DMs, BC said, that was your fan submissions for the week. Incorrect segment, BC. As mentioned, it was DMs from Donks, not fan subs. Not the biggest wrong, but wanted to contribute. Much love from JP and Dawn the Boss Lady. MK in your house. Let's get that campaign going, Donks. Shout out to the Paquettes up there in Mount Nike, Luke, but I am dead wrong in that instance. It happened.
All right. I'm not the biggest mistake, but
very
okay.
pedantic, but great to catch up with our good friend JP. Let's hear from Nick from Virginia in a dead wrong that Jasper, Peter, and Michael also wrote in. Nick says, for the first time in a long time, I'm here, and I'm here to serve BC his own butt. On Monday's episode at 31 minutes and a few ticks in, Luke asks BC if Poirier Holloway 3 will go the distance. BC states it should go the distance as both of their previous fights went the distance. BC, you brain dead jabroni. Though the second fight did go the distance, their first fight ended in the first round, with Poirier mounting Holloway with a gnarly triangle armbar. If a fight between two female strawweights ended in that fashion, I guarantee you would remember it. And I don't want to hear any oohs or ahs from LT because he didn't catch your blunder in real time. I bet the first ingredient on that screaming freedom is lead. You guys are great. Till next time, smoke grass and eat ass. And P.S. Long Island Luke, put down that bong and pick up some roses for your gal. You sad excuse for a second generation horned up Aussie. Holy shit, Nick just jumped off the top rope. Good Lord. Long Island Luke, you taking that?
I'll take that because that was pretty funny. The
Oh,
screaming
wow.
freedom
Catching strays, bitch.
That's well done there. All right, let's hear from Aaron, who goes by Big Asa G. Big Asa G. He says at 44:53 on Thursday, July 3rd, BC said while talking about Islam moving to welterweight, if Islam wins the championship against DDP, hey, BC, you might have forgot that he's old in that, but DDP is the middleweight champion and not the welterweight champion. That's the great almighty JDM, Jack Della Maddalena. Love it. Love from Australia, especially to Long Island Luke. It's Big Asa G. Yeah, I'll take that L. I said it. Okay. Let's hear from Daz. He's going to mahalo our ass and give us maybe a blast from the past, right? Yeah, okay. He says at 1:50 of Thursday's July 3rd show, Luke is going over the MK fan sub from Alan W., and he mentions weird-ass Scorpion Chuck Mindenhall. Luke must be confused because Chuck in the blue costume was clearly Sub-Zero. while Bronstetter, in the yellow, was Scorpion. Also, for what it's worth, I think Jed in sunglasses was supposed to be Johnny Cage. So, Luke, you gonna take that L?
Yeah, I'll take that L. That's fair.
Okay. And finally, Aloha Donks. I got one more from Daz. On Thursday's episode, the graphics team, Mikey, made an error. During LT and BC's UFC top 5 pound for pound rankings, Merab's last name was consistently spelled DV-Lashvili. This is dead wrong. There's an L in there.
Duval-Ishvili, yeah.
Yeah, understand. Well, these are pretty pedantic. Understandable mistake, as it's not the easiest to spell, but dead wrong. Nonetheless, thank you for your content. Thank you, Daz, and everyone else who pedantically jumped in there. We got one more fan sub segment for you. Can you beat what we saw last week? This is where you send in tight t-shirts and pictures of Saul's wife. Yeah, it's fan subs.
You've got mail.
Viewers.
Speaking of Louisville's finest, Saul, he says, "What up, B? My wife and I hosted a Jersey Shore themed pool party for her birthday. I spiked my hair up as Pauly D, but it was so hot it wouldn't stay up. I actually got hate from the Paramount store that this was the week before the new she launched, but however, I did rock my Skits and Bits shirt." I have no idea what that last sentence said, by the way.
Yeah, he wrote that high as fuck.
Yeah.
He was saying he got MK hats from the Paramount store before the site launched. And then
Got it. Yeah, that dude wanted us to relaunch badly. Luke, nobody represents MK in the flesh more than Saul A from Louisville. Look at this.
Yeah, this man, he lives the brand. We'd have to go to his house and you could bang his girl.
I mean, I'm not really into that, but it's something to think about, right? Yeah, all right. Let's get a Saul sandwich. I'll be the meat. Let's hear from Appy, dude. All our friends are coming out. David Appleton. Hi guys. BC often talks about his French Canadian origins, but on a recent visit to the Louvre Museum in Paris, I discovered that his family roots go back to France itself. Here's a painting of the big beige one's prestigious ancestor, Emperor Napoleon himself, behaving in classic Campbell statesmanlike manner. P.S. Having made this discovery, you now have to come to Chateau Appleton to do a pregame preview of the Paris card in September. Cheers, guys. Big French kisses from your favorite English teacher, David Appleton. That's good shit right there. Is that
You've been to Paris, PC?
Yes, I have.
Yeah.
Last summer. It was great. Great.
That's funny.
Best time of my life. Really. It really was.
Yeah, I don't want to have the official drink of Chateau Appy, which is Rohypnol. I'll pass on that. Thanks.
Appy's like, here, I got some GHB. Let's try it together. All right. Let's hear from Nemanja, who says, "Hi, Donks. On the special Thursday edition of MK that aired on July 3rd, Luke made a suggestion to do a home invasion MK show. Here is just a little photo reminder for all the lunatics out there that are thinking about inviting Luke and Brian into their homes. Like Luke so eloquently put it, I will ruin your plumbing and BC will bang your wife. Shout out to the best host in MMA media and that loving boyfriend from down under. Keep up the awesome work. And greetings from Macedonia. That's in Europe, BC. Oh my God, that's so good. That is so good.
Dude, the Dumb and Dumber thing is, I mean, I don't know if I've seen a more perfect fan sub. This is unbelievable.
Look, what do you make of this fella Nemanja being from Macedonia? That's amazing, right?
Yeah, that's amazing. I cannot believe how good this is. That is so awesome. So awesome.
We got one from Jonas. He says, yours truly, it's Jonas. Let's see it.
Unlucky Luke, take me to Spain and I'll take Islam off your mind. I'll be your American beauty, Ilya. You are reading way too much into these roses.
Are you Kevin Spacey in this recreation of American Beauty?
I don't quite get it. Also, Ilya looks very unhappy with my presence in his La Camita. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I think you just blew up his commode. All right.
Probably, yeah. Upper decker. Sorry, Ilya.
We close with the fan sub assassin and podcast contributor and supporter known as Alan W., a multi-time Donk of the Year nominee. His first one is called Donk Street Presents Counting Margaritas with Count Donkula.
That's pretty good.
Count all the way to Margaritaville. I think we'll stop at 3 there, Count. Thank you.
Donk Street, that's pretty good. I don't know if I can have 7. 3 seems to be the limit, but well done.
Donk Street Presents also gives us On the Road, a fatty liver journey. Wow. Is that my car, Luke? That's
Okay.
unbelievable.
You might be tempted to think that the two glizzies is the move here, but I have to tell you, it's the googly eyes. That really is the one that works.
Shout out to my 2020 Subaru Crosstrek that my kids have taken over. I no longer drive. I miss that car, Luke. You know, come on. Let's hear more from Alan. He says Morning Combat presents Big Trouble in Little Donkville.
Oh my God. And wait. So hold on. I'm obviously Kurt Russell, and then Long Island Luke is Lopan.
It looks like it. Where am I?
Yeah,
where are my
BC?
eyes? Yeah, where are my eyes? They're not the same size. This is interesting. All right. We got one more from Donk Street Presents. It's the RSD that will never be.
I always said, come to Long Island and do the RSD in my living room. And then the other person on the phone says, I'm not going to Long Island. I'd rather get AIDS or get fucked by an 8-dicked walrus.
So that's got to be Nosita on the phone with you, Luke, right? Yes.
Yeah, back when we had the bomb shelter couch.
Yeah, Long Island. And by the way, thank you, Island W, and thank you, fans, for those incredible fan submissions. morningcombat@gmail.com for your dead wrongs, fan subs, or to reach out to the show to complain or suggest. We'll be there for you. Tell Mikey we said hi. Long Island Luke, I'm willing to break into Malka's studios if you can get a if you can get a truck, and we'll just steal that couch and bring it to your house.
I mean, I have an RSD-like couch in my living room. You guys just need to come to my living room and we can record RSD here. Luke refuses to come to Long Island for whatever reason.
Can BC bang your girl?
No,
okay,
absolutely
enough of this.
not.
Yeah. If we shook
I'm
out
just
the
saying
cushion,
that's the deal.
Could I get enough shake for like a dime bag out of that couch or what?
Yeah, you get probably like an eighth out of that couch.
Yeah, there we go. All right. Morningcombat.shop for your merch needs. One more reminder, check out this fantastic shirt right here, the MK Punch Out. Luke's also wearing one of our old classics. There's a few evergreen products on there, but our July exclusives of the 1, 2, 3 margaritas, of the fantastic technical thriller shirt. And how about our autographed or unautographed Combate? What's that word there? Matutino? It's our lucha posters.
Yeah.
Brought to you by the great Average Joe Art. Fantastic stuff. All proceeds, by the way, go to BCLT and the LIL. So check it out, morningcombat.shop. It is the best way to support the show. That was a loaded and fantastic show. Thank you to Sebastian Fundora for stopping by. Enjoy the fights this weekend, tonight, tomorrow night. Luke Thomas, can we find your work on your YouTube or Substack to look back at the action this weekend?
Yeah, assuming I have fucking internet and I'm not tethering off my bitch ass phone. Yes, I'll have content for you. Yes.
Okay. For
Sorry.
not just
I'm
for
still
me,
pissed
for
off about it.
everybody. Yeah. It's just one of them days. Don't take it personal. You know what I'm saying?
Don't take it personal.
Yeah. Long Island,
right.
Look, you done talking? You got anything else? You got anything else for us?
I'm doing watch along Taylor Serrano tonight, 8 p.m. Doing full card UFC Nashville tomorrow. Join me, main card minute. Thank you very much,
bro. Your girl.
Yeah. She loves me.
She better.
For Luke Thomas's internet, I'm Brian Campbell. Thank you so much for joining us. We will be back Monday from home, 11 a.m. Eastern, and then Wednesday of next week. It's pregame preview brought to you by Cuervo. UFC 318, Jed Meshew, number 2 in the building. So we'll find out what that dirt hole is up to. And for Luke Thomas's anger, we must say goodbye now. Thank you for playing. Take care of yourselves. We're out of here.